All right, so let's take you through this clash that has now erupted in the wake of the Congress's manifesto. The BJP is saying this is similar to a Muslim League document and this is pure appeasement politics. So let's break it down for you. What does the manifesto say and what is the BJP's counter to it? The Congress's manifesto says the party, if elected, will ensure that minorities have the freedom of choice when it comes to dress, food, language and personal laws. The BJP is countering that by saying the Congress will not support the Uniform Civil Code and it only will continue with binary laws. If the Congress supports UCC, one wouldn't have to explicitly say that they will support the freedom of choice when it comes to dress, food, language, etc. The Congress's manifesto says they will restore the Maulana Azad scholarship for studying abroad and also increase scholarship for minority students. The BJP's counter is that this is active discrimination on the basis of religious lines, and that too in a sensitive area like education. The Congress's manifesto says that the Congress will ensure that banks and non-banking financial institutions will provide institutional credit to minorities, loans if you will, without any discrimination. The BJP's counter to that is that bank credit has also now been communalized by the Congress party. The Congress's manifesto says if elected, they will ensure that minorities get opportunities in all sectors without discrimination. The BJP is saying that this is nothing but a tacit promise to provide quotas on the basis of religion, which of course the Constitution of India explicitly denies or explicitly says that can't be the case. The manifesto says that economic empowerment of minorities is crucial for the overall growth of the country. The BJP's counter to that is that minorities are the biggest beneficiaries of the Modi government's welfare schemes, and it has challenged the Congress party and other opposition parties to show that there's been any discrimination when it comes to Labharti politics, which the Modi government has practiced over the last 10 years. So the question is, who is playing politics, and is this the issue that's going to dominate the 2024 campaign cycle? Here in our studios, I'm joined by Smita Prakash, editor of ANI. Sopan Das Gupta is leader of the BJP, former Rajya Sabha member of Parliament. Mohan Kumar Mangalam is spokesperson of the Congress party. Nirja Chaudhary, senior journalist who's tracked the last 10 Lok Sabha elections. Let me start with you, Smita Prakash. The Congress is saying, look at what our manifesto is saying, restoring Maulana Azad scholarships, economic empowerment of minorities, ensure that banks provide institutional credit. What is so discriminatory, what is so Muslim League about this?
I really don't know. I think it's a kerfuffle really. Going back again, it's more of a trading of words and a war of words between the two. And because of the focus on minorities in the Congress manifesto, it's like a red rag to the BJP. So they are, of course, going to pick on that issue. And now today, we've been seeing, since yesterday, in fact, for the past 24 hours, we've been seeing history lessons which have been going on from going back to Savarkar, and then you're going back to Quit India movement and Muslim League, and some even saying going back to the Lal Bal Pal of our history lessons. You know, the entire discussion has become so murky. To me, I think what the BJP should have picked on, which they haven't, is about the redistribution of wealth. Which Rahul Gandhi mentions, and it's talked about in the manifesto. I think that should have been something the BJP should have picked up. Instead, it has gone into its what everybody thought it would, which is the Muslim League.
So is this then an attempt at politicizing this issue to the extent that the BJP wants to paint the Congress as a Muslim party and wants to paint itself as a Hindu party?
Well, you know, when a manifesto is brought out, it's inevitable and inescapable that it's going to be politicized. After all, this is all about politics. So here you have two aspects in which the Congress manifesto could have been attacked. One is not necessarily for what it has said, but what it can imply. And it's this overbearing thing on minorityism. And that is a very easy stick to beat the Congress with. You know, then the Congress goes on to say that, you know, this Rahul Gandhi's thing that India is not a nation but a union of states, and it goes into this almost a quasi-confederal setup which it advocates. Now that's a very easy one to beat, and that's why the Muslim League allusion has been brought into this picture.
No, the Congress's contention is this minority section is just one page out of some 45 pages that they have in their manifesto.
I mean, okay, but in the past, Article 370 was one clause in an entire manifesto. All the Ram Mandir was also one clause. So
the nuclear test was also one sentence.
Exactly. Okay. So it's that's not the issue. It's a question of, you remember Manmohan Singh's or rather infamous statement that all the resources of the nation,
first right of
all the resources should go to the minority. And that is the baggage which the Congress still carries. And no wonder the BJP is attacking it for that. And therefore, it's almost taunting the Congress to say that you don't believe that. And the Congress won't be able to say that. Because the Congress is also hedging. The Congress is also giving conflicting, ambivalent signals to its core support base.
So let me ask Mohan Kumar Mangalam, the spokesperson of the Congress party. I mean, these similarities between the Congress manifesto's language and the Muslim League resolution back from the 1940s. This is what the Congress manifesto says, and I quote, "We will encourage reform of personal laws with the consent of all concerned communities." The Muslim League resolution back from the 40s says, "No bill shall be passed if 3/4 members of any community oppose for interests of the said community." The BJP's contention is, in a democracy, can there be a greater argument for a uniform civil code? If all Indians, all citizens are equal before the law, as per Article 14 and 15, then why the Congress party arguing why should it be left to the consent of the community concerned?
Saka, I think the Congress has made it clear in its manifesto that everyone has a right to follow their personal laws. However, we have said, and I think that's progressive, that there should be reform in personal laws of everyone's own religions. And I think once those laws are reformed by listening to more progressive voices from those communities, then it wouldn't be too far a journey to get to a uniform civil code, frankly. I think how you get to that point is important. I don't think you should ride roughshod over anyone's beliefs, anyone's personal religion-based practices in order to get to some sort of utopian state that you believe and whose laws are going to be imposed on someone else. So I think what Congress has done is taken a very sort of democratic view here in saying that let us help them reform their personal laws, or we will encourage them to reform their personal laws. First of all, if you want to talk about the Muslim laws, they're not even codified yet. So codify those laws first after you reform them. And then I'm pretty sure we can get to a uniform civil code without much of a hullabaloo that's happening like the BJP would like for it to be.
But Mohan, the point that Sopan Das Gupta and the BJP are making is, why do you even have a section for the minorities? You don't have a section in your manifesto saying this is what we will do for the majority community.
Isn't the whole manifesto about the majority and the minorities together? And aren't minorities, if you go back to the Sacha committee report, one of the most downtrodden sections of our society? Why was the minority scholarship taken away to begin with? This is about empowering different sections. And why is the BJP only picking on minorities? Why isn't it picking on the OBC reservation that we're talking about? Because this is their standard play, right? As Smita said, everyone would expect the BJP to target the manifesto and try to use it to say that they are the Hindu party and the Congress is a Muslim party. But I think people are tired of this rhetoric. One page in a manifesto that basically talks about things like an apprenticeship model along the German apprenticeship model lines, that talks about empowering women by giving them a stipend every year that counts to about 1 lakh a month. We have like major initiatives in that manifesto. And to pick up one page and talk about it is frankly ridiculous. And the BJP could never talk about redistribution the way Smita says they should, because then they would come out being anti-poor, and that's not something they can afford anymore of.
Let me ask Neerja Chaudhary this. Is this, as Mohan Kumar Mangalam and the Congress would have you believe, the BJP just talking up an issue because it suits them to polarize it and to communalize it? They've taken one page out of 45 and said that, look, Congress is a Muslim party and it reeks of a Muslim League mindset. Is this issue relevant at all in 2024? Or is the Congress simply missing the point that they are not able to convey to a large majority of the people of this country the perception, rightfully or wrongly, that the BJP has made about the Congress, that it caters more to the minorities than to the majority?
I think, the fact that the Prime Minister is pitching it so high and repeatedly at his rallies, and it's very strong language he's used this time, comparing it to Muslim League politics, which was a creation of a different state on the basis of religion. which India opted against at the time of independence. So it is, of course, it's a tried and tested method of the BJP to polarize the situation along Hindu-Muslim lines, and it gets the natural advantage because the Hindu consolidates behind it. And now with the Ram Mandir, the Prime Minister has also talked about the Congress not going for the consecration of the temple and expelling people who went there and so on. So it is that Hindu-Muslim divide coming to the fore again. We probably see even more strident voices in the coming days. They may have a point, say, on uniform civil code. You know, there's a commitment in the Constitution towards a uniform civil code. And I remember writing 35 years ago, more than 30 years ago, after the Shah Banu judgment, about absolutely the line of the Congress party, that the reform in personal law should be done with the consent of the community. That's a normal democratic way to go. But then if 3-4 decades have come, you've come down the line and that reform initiative has not been taken so far, then you can raise that question. The BJP can certainly raise the question in our Labharti schemes. We've not discriminated against a Muslim. That's a fact. They have not said because you're a Muslim, you will not get the benefit. And yet it's also a fact that the Muslim community in India today is beleaguered. It feels insecure. And many people, of course, say the Prime Minister, if he comes back to power in his third stint, may reach out to the minorities in a new way, be more inclusive. Now, we will see whether that happens or not.
Okay.
But I would say, certainly I look at it as pre-poll rhetoric, which is very sharp this time and which is coming from the Prime Minister himself.
So, Smita Prakash, how does the BJP and the Prime Minister then speak to those concerns which Neerja Chaudhary just articulated, that there is a persistent feeling among sections of the minority community that the BJP is anti-minorities?
So two things which Neerja pointed out, which I would like to talk about, including the other panelists. One was about the Prime Minister making a very strident comment, very sharp comment, and this is going to get sharper as we get closer to the polling dates. The thing is that I don't think the opposition and a large section of the media are still able to come to terms with the fact that the Prime Minister is a political animal. We had a Prime Minister for 10 years who was apolitical to some extent, at least vis-a-vis his interaction with the people of the country. He was political in the machinations that needed to be done within the party and within the cabinet to some extent, and many say he was underrated in that respect as a politician. But so what happens is that the media and the people of the country got lulled into this of having a Prime Minister who's apolitical. Now comes Mr. Modi and rewrites the rules of engagement as far as a Prime Minister is concerned. He was political, he is political, and he will continue to be political. And he will lead from the front, and which is how he has been. And the BJP is not shying away from that fact, because as a commander of his battalion, he is somebody who leads from the front. He is artillery as well as infantry as far as the BJP is concerned. So he is going to continue doing that, and the people of India are willing to accept that. It's the people who've been reporting on media and the opposition who have to come to terms with that.
There is a perception, rightfully or wrongfully, that the Modi government in the last 10 years has not done enough for minorities.
For the minorities.
So
let me come to that point.
How does he speak to those concerns?
As far as like Neerja said about the cylinder doesn't say whether
Muslim
you are a
Hindu,
Rukhsana or you are a Rupa. You are going to get it anyway. So some of the Labharti ones, they're going to get benefit. Now, as far as the Muslims feeling something, feeling that the lynching or whatever, the point is that a feeling is very difficult to change. When you're constantly told that अच्छा हुआ masjid गिरा दिया मंदिर बन गया, when you constantly told that and then you try to legitimize it by saying that the Mughals were not Indian, so it's okay to have that the mosque was brought down. These are all academic arguments that are made. As far as the feeling of Muslims are concerned, the point is, if their status in life improves, if their way improves. I saw this 20 years ago, 30 years ago when Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat. Some of us who have reported from there, the point is, if a panwala on a highway, his business improves because Modi as a Chief Minister built a highway, he's going to think my dhanda has improved. Now the feeling his family feels about it because they go to the masjid and the mullah in the masjid tells him that अरे मोदी के आने से तुम्हारा कबाड़ा हो जाएगा. The point is that they're getting more money into their pocket because that panwala is able to bring in more money because of the highway coming there or whatever. So I'm just giving you an anecdotal reference. So this is what, as far as the feeling is concerned, it will take a little while for the Labharti to materialize.
Is this,
May I just add from where Smita left off? You see, I think if you really look at what are the sources of the grievances of the minority communities, it's not economic. I think that's one thing we have to rule out. It's not economic. But they have a political problem. Or that is that for the first time after many, many years, the minorities, at least the Muslim community, feels it does not have any political clout in the government. And I think that has got the reality, that is the reality. And now how do you actually fix this issue? This is a difficult one because the BJP is not really dependent on the Muslim vote. Now, if the Muslims want to make the BJP dependent on their support, then there has to be a tectonic shift in the voting patterns. And as of now, we haven't seen that happening.
Yeah.
On the other hand, what we are seeing is that on large sections, in large parts of the country, the Congress is getting disproportionately more and more dependent on the Muslim vote. This is it's not the Congress's own doing, but this is how it's actually working out. So, under the circumstances, you find that the BJP, in any case, would want to raise the rhetoric at the time of the election. And if you look at the Prime Minister's election style, not merely since he became Prime Minister, but even going back to the Gujarat time, you will find that there is a pre-election type of rhetoric, which is all about development works and what is being done, etc., etc. And once you come into the election, there's a very sharp rhetoric, which is about how to motivate your own committed votes and get them to that. And that's a very important step in this election because there is a feeling at one level that ye to jeet gaya election. When you have opinion polls like yours, it says that there's nothing left there's no suspense left in the election.
Yeah.
You've got to motivate the Karyakartas to come out and vote. So all this is playing out in that. I don't think we need to take this whole question about Muslim League, all that very seriously. It'll come and go and this is par for the course. But the Congress is also a little miffed that all its very well-trained, highly Americanized young boys and girls who they've got to make these very social democratic type things in the manifesto, redistribution and all that, it's getting no play.
The progressives in
the progressive aspects of there. They
but
want
Mohan
to
Kumar Mangalam says that BJP will not pick that up.
Mohan is probably one of the progressives.
They want to be the left of the American Democratic Party.
Mohan,
that is what their model is.
You're further left of the US Democratic Party. Coastal elite.
No, I wouldn't say many of that. I've been on the ground for 10 years in Salem in Tamil Nadu. So, but yes, I speak sort of English pretty fluently, so you could put me in the progressive. I don't mind being called a progressive either. Now, Swapan is right, actually. One of the things I was going to mention that he did was that there's no representation. They're not even candidates, right? I mean, you went through the whole Karnataka election without a single Muslim candidate. There's also the Prime Minister's own utterances at different points in time when he said that, I can recognize who the criminals are in a riot by the clothes they wear, or Mr. Yogi Adityanath saying that, I don't want 20% of the vote. These sort of snide utterances that help to polarize the election. And it's all fine to say he's a political animal and, hey, this is what he's going to do during the election. The rhetoric is going to get sharper. But this is very divisive. And if the man is now larger than life and he's definitely going to win this election, then why continue to divide society along these lines? And I'll tell you one thing else, Zaka. I'll use this as an example. Before Mayawati first became a chief minister in Uttar Pradesh, you could ask the Dalits there when they went to the police station how they were treated. Today, if you ask a young Muslim boy if he goes to a police station in UP how he's treated, you will get a real response on what's changed for them in their lives.
But Mohan,
and that's the first point for a normal person.
Once
again, that's the first point for a normal person, how their lives change when the air around them, when the environment around them changes.
But the flip side to that argument is, as Swapan Das Gupta said a moment ago, what happens to the Congress party? You are today, for better or for worse, considered a party that is dependent on 20% of the vote.
Not really, because Swapan answered that question when he said that he's basically preaching to the converted. How many times are you going to try and pull that same trick out of the bag and hope that the same people will vote for you? We believe there's only so many gains to be made in polarizing the vote. They've already got there. I think the issues that will dictate this election are really issues that matter to the livelihoods of people. That's why we are talking more and more about unemployment. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about how we put money back into people's hands. So those are the issues that we are focusing on. They can continue to do their Hindu-Muslim politics, but they're preaching to the converted. It's not going to move beyond that 20% vote that they have for that reason.
When you go out into the field, Nirja Chaudhary, do you get a sense that the rhetoric is increasing on communal issues, polarizing issues, and that's why Mr. Modi gets re-elected? Or is it that he's managed to create some kind of a constituency, a welfare constituency, a Labharti constituency, call it what you want, at the bottom end of the pyramid, and at the top end of the pyramid he's got national security, desh ka naam roshan kiya, and all of that at the top end of the pyramid. So he's built, as they say, a rainbow coalition of voting communities, sections of people across strata who are voting for the BJP and who are perhaps voting for Modi more than they're voting for the BJP.
2 points I want to make here. I agree with you. I think the Prime Minister did not have to do this. That's my personal view. Because the issue in this election is Narendra Modi. And it's all the things that you have put there, that adds up to Narendra Modi. It is what he's done on the world scene. Of course, he is Hindu Hriday Samrat. That's a given. In fact, I've had stray voices in UP say, "Ye Hindu Muslim bahut ho gaya." They are voting BJP, but ज़्यादा ही हो गया. हमको रहना तो इनके साथ ही है. But national pride, Labharti, being a 24/7 leader, no family in tow, appealing to the aspirational young India in a big way. Now, so up to my mind, he didn't have to do this. Modi remains, and people will vote for him because it is the kind of delivery, what he is in leadership, that they like. And the other side will vote because they're dissatisfied with him. So he remains the center point. But the other point I want to make is what we have not taken note of, which the Congress party is now trying to do through its manifesto, is reach out to a new constituency. Whether they'll succeed or not is a different thing. Whether they'll take years to succeed is a different thing. And that is the OBC. OBCs have never been part of the Congress's constituency. Maybe, in southern states, maybe when Devraj Urj was there, Indira Gandhi won in 1978, leave that aside. Certainly all over North India, which is their main challenge, it was upper caste, Dalits and Muslims. But they, by insisting on the caste census, by talking about doing away with the cap, Supreme Court given cap for 50% of reservations, no more, by promising that they will have reservations in the private sector, and then, of course, going for women as a major constituency, which they've been doing over a period. I think at least they're getting their direction right. Whether or not they will succeed is a different thing.
But then the counter to that argument is...
They also have a plan to repeal the CAA. They also have a plan in the manifesto to repeal Article 370 of the Constitution. So basically the issues which you're offering these issues
to the BJP.
To the BJP. And BJP, these are loose balls. The BJP is going to hit them out of the stadium.
They're going to pick one issue after the other.
But how does one speak to, and I'm sure both of you must have seen this piece, Ruchu Sharma has written this for the Financial Times, saying basically what's happening in India is what happened in the Southeast Asian countries through the 50s, 60s and 70s. People are willing to trade economic prosperity, economic upward mobility with a decrease in freedoms.
That is Ruchi
I mean,
Sharma's-
that's his view.
That is a perception of certain people. It's a very trendy view, which is there in certain Western things, that we've given our freedoms away. I don't think our freedoms have been given away. I think people are combative as usual. They are pugnacious. They are still fighting it out. There's a slugfest going on.
Every night coming
there
on
is.
TV and saying that freedom of the press has been stifled can only be done in a free democracy. Every night you will have people coming on channel after channel saying media is muzzled. You know, to come back about the caste thing that you mentioned and what Nija also said, is that the OBC category, the reason why regional parties came about. Why do you think Mayawati's party came about? Why do you think Akhilesh's party, Mulayam Singh? Several reasons. And in Uttar Pradesh, if they turn around and say कि हमें ये divisiveness नहीं चाहिए, I think this is because there are two generations of voters now who have forgotten the political instability of Uttar Pradesh. How every chief minister since the 70s could not complete the tenure. There was president's rule. You have what, 15 or 16 chief ministers who did 1 year, 2 year, till it was Akhilesh Yadav who came in, and he's the first one who had a full 5-year tenure. Otherwise, there was nobody. So, you know, when you have the luxury of political stability, then you turn around and say, ha, we want peace and we want stability and stuff like that. They've got used to the stability. The other point is about whether Modi having said about logon ke kapde pehen ke, and that is divisiveness. What do you think Rahul Gandhi did when he said caste? What is your caste, when he asked this, the reporter out there, and he said that what is the caste of your owner? So, you know, when you are bringing about caste, that's not divisiveness. When you bring about religion, that is divisiveness. When you have Jairam Ramesh saying caste is a factor in India which you can't ignore, so is religion in that matter. We have been divided in this country on the basis of caste and religion. Either you face facts and you accept it, or you decide that you're going to erase the two.
So stability, and I think we must actually take stability into account. You know, we've taken it for granted that we've had after 25 years in 2014, we got a single party with the majority.
Yeah.
And it was after those horrible days of the United Front, etc., when, you know, completely dysfunctional. And we sometimes feel that, you know, okay, we've really experimented enough with stability. It's a bit of a bore. It reminds me once of what told me about the 1984 election when they went to campaign, when they went to Amethi and asked the congressman, "Bhai, yahan kya ho raha hai?" And Rajiv Gandhi was the candidate. So he said, "Bhai, jeet to jayenge, lekin haar jaye to maza aa jaye."
Oh goodness.
So it's that perversity sometimes which comes on.
So Mohan Kumar
manifests
Manglam,
itself.
when you say Mr. Modi makes it divisive with references to Muslim League, etc., when Rahul Gandhi is asking a reporter, "Tumhara Malik ka naam batao," obviously the reference is to caste. How is that any less divisive?
I mean, if you choose to see representation as divisive, if you choose to see reservation as divisive, then yes, I guess it is divisive. Unfortunately, the Constitution, and I think most Indians don't think that way. They think of reservation as something that's required to correct historical wrongs that have happened in the caste system. So I don't see it the same as saying people of a particular religion are rioters or have committed crimes. I'm surprised Smita has made that analogy. I also have to correct Swapan when he says that we said we'll repeal 370. There's nothing in the manifesto that says that. In fact, it says that we will ensure the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir is restored as soon as possible. So
No, he was referring to the BJP manifesto over the last many decades, which had a line saying we'll repeal.
Oh, I thought he said that our manifesto
You're right,
said that we will bring back.
Okay, I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
Okay, all right. Also, when you talked about Mr. Manmohan Singh saying that minorities have the first rights, you forgot to mention that he also talked about scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the same sentence. So what he talked about really was all disempowered, voiceless, downtrodden need to have the first right on our resources, and there's no debating that.
No, but Mohan, I come back to the point. Again, what all of this is doing, again, whether knowingly or unknowingly, is it's cementing the perception that the Congress today is a party of the minorities. Whether it's, again, to use your own analogy and what you said of Manmohan Singh, you've become a party that's dependent on, socially disadvantaged minorities or, communally disadvantaged minorities. Ultimately, the majority of this country seems to think that you don't speak for them.
Is the majority of this country not OBC, SC, ST? On what basis are you saying that they're minorities?
You just said,
I mean,
you just said that
I just
Manmohan Singh
I
said
Manmohan Singh
minorities
talked
in the
about
same
SC,
breath as
STs,
he said.
minorities and SC/STs, and when he said that, he was talking about economically underprivileged, the downtrodden. They should have the first right. Basically, he was talking about the poor people of our country, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure the BJP will have no objection to that statement if they read the statement in its entirety.
Okay.
How are you saying that's not the majority? The majority of our country is still living under the poverty line, unless you, of course, believe the multi-dimension poverty nonsense that's been put out there by the BJP, who's trying to convince us that less than 5% of our country is poor.
So, I'll give the final word to Neerja Chaudhary. There is an argument that the Congress is also putting forth, right? Mr. Modi has been in power for the last 10 years. Why is he not running on his record? Why does he have to resort to Muslim League and this and that, all the divisive non-issues, instead of saying that, look, this is my 10 years, you had UPA 10 years before that, you decide which was better.
This is only a reaction to the Congress manifesto. It's not their manifesto, for heaven's sake.
Neerja Chaudhary.
I would agree with that, because as I said, he is the issue in this election, and I feel he did not have to. I mean, it's all right for one BJP leader here and there to talk about it like that, but for the Prime Minister, he did not have to, because at the end of 10 years, he remains as popular. There has been no other Prime Minister India has had who's remained popular at the end of 10 years. Nehru won the election in 1962, but was losing ground, was frail, was not the old Nehru. And Indira Gandhi routed after 10 years. Manmohan Singh, from 2004 to 2014, the third Prime Minister who did 10 years, the Grand Old Party slumped to just over 40 seats. And Narendra Modi at the end of 10 years is popular. So I think he did not, I personally feel he did not have to do this.
Okay.
To win an election, you need to do all kinds of things.
As
I'm
they
just
say,
convinced
Sam,
of that.
Dam, Dand, Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how this story plays out, whether it resonates on the ground or whether this is going to be confined to the TV studios and the political rhetoric of the campaign. But what we're going to do now is to take a quick break. And talking about political rhetoric, there's a full-fledged political clash now that's erupted in Hyderabad after the MIM chief, Asaduddin Owaisi, he visited Mukhtar Ansari's family. And after that, he is now claiming that he's receiving death threats. His main rival in the seat of Hyderabad, the BJP's Madhvi Lata, is accusing him of siding with radical elements, and that's why he's getting these death threats. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have that story and a face-off between the MIM and the BJP on that story. That's right after this quick break.
A deeper understanding of what is the intent behind such measures needs to be given time for people at the grassroots to truly understand what it means